Hello, good afternoon, Timo. How are you doing?
Fine, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right, thank you. So, today, once again, back to talk about our pets and our pets' view. So, everyone, feel free to ask questions as you go through, even if they're not directly related to the subject, and we will do our best. But today, Timo, we're going to talk about the difference between synthetic and whole food minerals and why this matters, because this is something I think most people don't really think about when they're looking at choosing their pet's food, isn't it?
Yeah, that's correct. So, actually, pet food is a numbers game. So, that means there are regulations that accept certain types of minerals and vitamins, and you just fulfill those numbers. And how you fulfill them are up to you a bit. Hi, Andrea. And in this case, if you use organic or inorganic, doesn't matter. Even worse, some of those typical advised daily intake of minerals is based on how badly those minerals might be even absorbed. That means normally you might need much less to be healthy, but you are getting these really hard to absorb minerals all the time. So you have to get a lot of it to be able to absorb a fraction of it. And this is not good, especially for the gut flora. It's really troublesome.
So, what do you mean
Hi,
by
Bob.
hi, Bob? Hi, Andrea. Hi, Miss Chromestick. Hi, everyone. So let's start off right back at basics. So you mentioned there organic and inorganic minerals. Can you talk us through that? Because I think some people are thinking about organic and inorganic food. So tell us what you're talking about when you're talking about with minerals.
Okay, so one thing that's very important is to understand all minerals in their natural form are inorganic, because to be organic, they have to be connected to carbon, oxygen, and hydrogen compound, which is the base of being organic, right? So the thing is, for animals and humans, most of the minerals come normally from food and soil, which is mostly in organic form. So if you get your minerals in inorganic form, then their absorption is harder. And sometimes even their absorption might cause problems. Let's say magnesium. If you get your magnesium from the soil or in a nut form, you don't get diarrhea. If you get the same amount of magnesium directly, chelated or not chelated, people talk about it, you get diarrhea. So why? What changed? Well, in one form, it is coming with its own surrounding. It's buffered, so it's in a safe surrounding. When it comes directly, it comes in direct contact with the cells, and the cells don't know what to do with it because this is not normal. It shouldn't come in that form, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's. I always say so. If you get your money every month in cash, and suddenly somebody gives you a check, that's a form that you're not used to have. So you have to do extra stuff to get that money as cash. So you have to go to bank, validate it, blah, 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 blah. And same with these minerals. So that's why most of these inorganic minerals are not really absorbed well, because it's the body says, go away. You are dangerous the way you are, especially iron and some metals, very active metals like magnesium. The body wants to get rid of them. That's why you get diarrhea from it, right?
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. And, what we're talking about as we go through this, we're talking about, because there's a lot of people, I've just seen Miss Chrome Sitstrack talking about how much she spends on her 2 cats a month and everything. But, you think about when we bring these pets into our lives of whatever species, and we're going to be starting our horse series soon. And then you are talking big bucks. We're choosing to bring them in, and they're completely dependent on us for what they eat and the choices we make. So therefore, this is why we're doing these series, so that we choose very wisely. And we've got a little comment here from High Plains Sister. Again, a rescue kitty, not sure about getting an older cat because of their possible health record. Well, I get lots of older animals, and I can, from my point of view, it's the most rewarding thing you can do. Every animal that we take on, I did a little Instagram video on this. we talk about rescue animals, but we must realize that it's the humans that have caused all the problems for them in the first place. So lovely humans like you that are then prepared to put right the problems that have been possibly caused by other humans is really, really important. We've got to remember that, you know, these animals aren't, they don't owe us anything. We owe them everything. So I think getting any rescue animal is amazing, and getting the older ones for me is the most rewarding thing I can do, because when you see how you can turn things around for them, it's just magical. So I really, really hope that you do. And please
totally agree.
Yeah, Timo agrees as well. Yeah, older cats are so grateful. Well, I'm grateful for them, and I think you know, it's really, really important that we realize that they don't owe us anything. You know, we owe them a lot. So fantastic. We have got some lovely animal owners here. So we're going to come on to this, Karen Hughes, in a minute. Best organic food that I can feed my ragdolls. I would say the home prepared ones, wouldn't you, Timo?
Definitely the cheapest way, the quickest way, and the most controlled way.
Yeah. So back to the minerals again. So we've talked about the inorganic minerals. What do you mean by chelated minerals?
Okay, so chelated or chelated, both are used. Okay, a metal is an active compound and wants to connect to things. And chelated means actually that the metal is connected to something, not always organic, although it's used like that, that bonds around this metal and makes it a different compound. So, for instance, zinc can make a chelation with copper, right? So, although they are both inorganic minerals, but how it is used in supplement world, or let's say typical nutritional definition, is an amino acid that connects to a metal or mineral and makes it easier to absorb. That's chelation. And that happens actively in the body, especially for the minerals that comes from the drinking water or other, like a licking stone or something like that. But the way we normally use the minerals are already part of amino acids and different compounds. For instance, good example would be selenium. Normally, the main way our body absorbs, even dogs and cats, selenium is by a methionine connected selenium that comes with this amino acid and is easily absorbable, right? This is chelation or chelated. Yeah, that's what it means. So if you buy your supplement, which is chelated, then the absorption level is more or less 10% higher in some, 2% higher in some, and up to 40% higher in some cases. Depends on the mineral that is connected and how it's chelated.
Yeah, okay. So these are all things that people need to look at. So you've got down here also minerals as part of amino acids and other compounds.
Sorry, I didn't hear you acoustically.
So you've got down here as well. So we've looked at the inorganic and the chelated minerals, but what about minerals as part of amino acids?
Yeah, they are already chelated, but you don't buy them as chelated. That means they were already chelated in the organism by the plant or by the animal.
Yeah,
and they become a part of the, like heme iron. Like if you hear about it, heme iron that comes with the meat or the blood, that is chelated already. It's connected to something. And the truth is, minerals by itself, like mostly, if they are not like xenon or argon gases, minerals like to bond to things or create new molecules. That's why we have molecules, right? So the problem is, in an organism like a dog, cat, or us, or most mammals, certain elements have their function. And if they come in that functional form, we use them perfectly and they have no harm to us. But if they come in another form and absorb, they might be really aggressive because they start to try to bond to something that we don't want them to be bound, like to a DNA, and destroying the sugars in the DNA and just totally destroying the mitochondria, or like cobalt can do, or like iron can do. That's why these metals are mostly also highly regulated. That means the body tries really hard through the kidneys to kick out that is excess, because it is just too active. It's just, you don't want to have that. Vitamin C is a good example for it, although it's not a mineral. it is exactly in the same ballpark, because it's just so active. If you don't want to get to destroy cells or other things, you just get rid of it. Too much, if it's too much, just get rid of it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Spicy Dame, can you give us a bit more detail? I don't understand your question. I'm having a hard time not feeding my dog in the morning instead of just at night. So if you're not feeding it in the morning, I assume you're feeding it at night. So just give us a little bit update on that, Spicy Dame, what you mean, and we can answer that. And also, Spicy Dame, back cats for dummies. Now, one thing I would say about if you're a dog person and you want to get cats, or if you're a cat person you want to get dogs, first of all, yes, there are some differences with the species. One of the most obvious is cats are very difficult to contain. So you've got to look at the safety issues of where you live. So, for example, if you live on a main road, for example, there could be safety issues about getting cats. So I think for cats, it's really important to look at where you live and how safe an environment that is for cats. But equally, cats and dogs, they're also individual as well, aren't they, Timo? So and at different stages of their life, they'll have different needs. So it's really important that, yes, you understand the general needs of cats and dogs, but then also you look at the breed, the age, etc. But be prepared to be open-minded individuals. So I've got 5 cats, and some of them are older and sleep most of the day and don't stray far at all. And then I've got Idris, who I talk about all the time, who goes absolutely miles, climbs every tree, goes in every house, and is a completely different ball game. And I can't constrain him at all. In fact, yesterday when the mechanic was here because my car broke down, he kept jumping in his van and I had to keep going and retrieving him. So yeah, just remember they're all very individual.
Can I say something? Dogs are companions and cats are gods. So all cats are, let's say, more or less atheist, because they think they are the god or nothing. I am the highest. So that's why a cat is hard to get under control, because they are not willing to bow to you, and this is their character. So, and each cat has their own. How do you say, sometimes even glitches, so you don't really you cannot really. Dogs are easier to understand or just predict, and cats are like totally different animals, because they are their own gods. They just want to rule themselves and nothing else.
And anyone who comes and stays with me for a bit will see that's completely true, because I spend my whole life running after my cats and bowing to their every command. So a quick question here before we move on from Spicy Jane. So what she was talking about, she said she's hungry when we wake up and I feed her in the morning. Your course says to only feed at night, which it actually doesn't say that. But do you want to have a bit of a comment about that, Timo?
Yes. So if you can feed only once at night and enough of it, then the morning will be, of course, easier. But you can always feed in the morning a small amount and the main course in the evening. That's not a problem. It also depends, of course, how big your dog is and how big the stomach is and how much energy it uses also in the night. Is your dog active in the night? Is it chewing around, playing around, or is it just laying? So give us more detail, then we will discuss this.
Yeah. And one thing I would say is people tend to read things and think it's absolute. So in our course, we didn't say you must only feed once at night. We said in an ideal situation for most healthy adult dogs, that's optimal, because most of the time, here comes Coco to join me. Most of the time, a mistake a lot of owners make is they feed them in the morning and then take them for a long walk, and that's not healthy for the dog at all. So I would go back and listen to that bit and sort of adapt it to your lifestyle and sort of see what age the dog is, what they've been used to. Obviously, if you're going from twice a day to once a day, you want to transition gently, not do it overnight, etc. So, and just one more question before we moved on. And Timo, an older cat, rescue cat who has early kidney disease, the recommended food out there doesn't smell too good. No, it won't be.
No, I'm not
Do you
convinced.
want to answer that one, Timo?
Yeah, so kidney, we have to know, of course, what type of kidney disease it is. But generally speaking, cats are protein eaters, and if the food doesn't come with a lot of baggage, then the kidney will be fine. So try to give the cleanest food you can give, but in the highest nutritional balance. So 10 to 15% liver, good meat, and try to keep the plant content just around 2% to 3% maximum, and it will be all fine.
So most, Miss Crome says, most of the, ready-made ones will not meet that requirement.
No,
you
not
are
all.
going to have to do it
Really hard, yeah.
And our cat nutrition course, which Andrew's posted the link to in here, and you can see we've still got, I'm going to stop this soon, but the Bulls 10 for the 10% off is still running. So that's really important for that. And very quickly, Linda, my cat eats twice a day. Is this too much? No, absolutely not.
No, it's normal.
No, completely normal. Cats are very different to dogs. And again, we cover this in detail in some of our earlier videos and in the cat nutrition. Cats need to eat at least twice a day, sometimes more. So absolutely.
That's okay.
Yeah, so on to the thing. So let's talk about with the minerals, the difference between the absorption of minerals from water and food.
Well, okay, so water contains mostly non-chelated metals or like minerals. Most of the minerals we need are metals, so I use it interchangeably. And although if they are even alkaline metals, they are metals. So most of the elements we need, dogs need, cats need, are in free form in the water. And because of that, the absorption levels are very low. So if you think that giving a lot of mineral water, good quality spring water, will increase the amount of all minerals that the dog needs or cat needs or you need, you are wrong. It's not going to happen because the absorption level is very low. What you need is high quality food that contains all these minerals. That means the organism you are eating, your animals are eating, done the job for you already, because this is how the food chain works, right? So, for instance, when I eat a banana, the potassium in the banana, it doesn't make me go to toilet. It fits me. But if I get the same amount of potassium directly, I might even get a big problem, upset of my stomach, because it is not in the form that we, yeah. I give you an example. So I say, okay, I will visit you tonight. There is party. What do you need? You say, bring some beer. And then I ring the door. You open the door, and I have a tanker full of beer. I just opened the big, the faucet. It's just flowing in. So this is not what you expected, and this is not how it works for the party. Some people will be happy, but most of them will be drunk very quickly or even draw. So it doesn't work. That's why drinking water is good, but that's why you can also give your dogs and cats distilled water. It will change nothing if the food is good. It will not have any negative impact.
Okay, great. Beth, first of all, I don't think you've been doing it for long, just a few weeks, the transition, and you've got an older cat, I think, Beth. So obviously the older the cats, the more established their eating habits, particularly if they've got some existing health issues, can take longer. So it's absolutely fine, as we say in the course, and completely normal to cook the chicken first and the other ingredients, like you can cook the liver as per the course says by dropping it in boiling water, and slowly, just a tiny bit each day. So that's very normal, having to hide it in the sachet food, chopping it up into tiny bits, cooking it initially, and it can take months and months to transition an older cat, can't it, Timo?
And don't be discouraged. So you just slowly, don't feel like you're doing something bad. Just slowly move towards the right direction. Don't be afraid. Even if it takes time, at the end you will win, because it's the best way to feed your cat.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my cats only likes raw if it's very fresh. More than 2 or 3 days old, he won't touch it, but my female cat still eats it.
Okay, so first of all, your male cat, because you said the female cat still eats it, your male cat has a very good gut feeling. The reason for that is when the meat is, especially industrial meat, is 2 days old, there is already a film of a lot of bacteria on it that the cat possibly doesn't want to have in his body. On the other hand, some cats like already rotten or slightly off meat because it has more free amino acids. So both are right, but one is safe. Let's say, both are normal cat behaviors, but one is safer than the other one.
So yes, so we don't want to be feeding 2 or 3 days old food because it's going to have the bacteria base on it. So that is quite important. And just a final question from Miss Crone 6, just to be clear, did you say can give my older cat, kidney problem cat, clean protein cat food like Blink Real Food? Well, I don't know what's in Blink Real Food at all. So
okay, so making your senses go off, or pleasing your senses with something, vegan or not, is quite easy. So this can be done with different tricks. So this is not the right thing to think. But on the other hand, of course, I don't know the Blink food, but clean protein is the cleanest protein is what you can buy yourself, choose yourself, prepare yourself, and you know what's inside and what amount of money you paid to get that meat. So
I've looked into it. It's full of synthetic vitamins and minerals. I know the one. So it is sort of raw, but we're going to get, this is why you really need to sort of look at this and understand what's on the on the packet, because things like the Blink has got some added synthetic vitamins and minerals in it.
Okay, so Catherine, let's make another live show with talking about just labeling. So how to read labels, and if you join us and ask questions about what you don't understand about labeling, or we would like to show you how you are misled by the labeling, by the way.
So this is a really, really good thing. So Blink cat food says only clean protein, but what does clean protein mean? That means nothing. That's a completely made up description, just a marketing tool. And also, when you look at the nutritional additives, I've just got it up on my phone now, it's full of synthetic taurine, vitamin A, vitamin D, sulfur monohydrate, zinc sulfite, manganese. This is exactly what Timo's talking about. So let's just be really clear to people, you know, that there's a big difference between getting your vitamins and minerals from natural real foods and these synthetic ones. So every time, we will do a separate show on labeling, but say it says calcium iodate anhydrous 0.5, that is a sign that you've got a synthetic vitamin or mineral added, isn't it, Timo?
That is correct. I don't like to use the word synthetic for minerals, let's say. But most of them are synthesized, chelated in a laboratory, and added to the food because it's the cheapest way. So I can give you a good example. If you want to have a good quality meat, a food that has 10%, 15% heart and liver and whatnot, the kilogram of that food might be 5 pounds. If you use the cheapest meat and everything and cook it to death, and then you have to add extra premix to make it passable on the label, then you use €1 or €2 or 2 pounds for the same food. So you can already see where I'm getting at with. So it's just to fill the numbers. It has nothing to do with health. It's just there is a mandate how much of what you have to have in the food, and you just put it the way you can get away with, right?
Yeah, so everything, and we're not picking on Blink here at all, it's just because this is what you've asked about, but this is a classic example. So what we have to do as pet owners and as people that are feeding ourselves, and Coco, you agree with me, don't you, is go back to common sense. So if we're buying something that's in a sachet that has been made by someone else, you are paying for the packaging, the processing, etc., and there's no way it can be as fresh as something you're going to home prepare. And they have to add things in there to preserve it and keep it and meet the nutritional standards. So a lot of companies use things like clean protein, but clean protein doesn't mean anything. There's no scientific description of a clean protein. Yep. It's just a marketing description. So the problem is I do understand that it's difficult for all of us, and I will hold my hand up. You know, I feed my animals probably 90%, you know, home prepared food. But then I also, if I've got visitors coming or we're out for the day and the neighbours feeding them or something, I'll feed something more convenient. So I might leave some sachets for them. So, you know, I go for the 80-20 rule, where 80% of the food I give my healthy animals needs to be really good quality. And the other 20% I can be less fussy about, because none of us can do anything that's perfect. And the problem is, absolutely, you do know everything, Miss Crone-Sitz, because the marketing of these companies is really, really clever. But equally, I say go right back to basics. Anything you're buying that has a long shelf life is not natural. Natural food, unless it's preserved in very special ways like air drying or freezing, does not have a non-shelf life. So if you're buying something that's in a sachet or a packet and it has, then obviously there's a compromise with that. Have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, if the bacteria and the fungus and the molds don't want to touch a food, then I'm not sure of the quality of it. So if they cannot have anything from it, your dog would definitely not have enough from it, or cat.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things. We're all doing the best we can, and we're all learning every day. I learn stuff every day, every single day. And as your animal's needs change, then you have to learn new stuff. So I'm at a stage.
Me included, by the way. Hey? So it's like we are talking here as experts, but we have to broaden our knowledge all the time, or correct things that we might be wrong in the past. And that never stops. So
as we get new information, and Timo and I are talking every day about this stuff and asking questions and looking at different scenarios and working out what's good and what's not good, etc. So
last question from Miss Crone-Sitz: do you make a big batch and freeze the food? Depends on the size of your animal and how often do you feed them and how many of them you have. Some you can also get, if you go to supermarket every day, if you are someone like I have to do it because I have children and they eat everything away all the time. So if you go every day or every second day for shopping and you have a small cat or 2-3 cats, small animals, you can make fresh every day, no problem. It's like it takes like 30 seconds to cut food. But if you have, of course, bigger animals that need more food and you don't have the time, then you have to somehow produce more and then freeze it.
Yeah, so what I do is I'm vegan as well. Timo's vegan as well, Ms. Crone-Sitz. And I've had to learn a lot of this to make sure I keep my animals as healthy as possible. And I'm still learning sort of every day for that, because some of them I've got a lot of elderly animals now where their needs change and everything. So I'm having to adapt to that new learning. So in terms of the course does cover how to safely cook the food. And it does cover then how, when you're confident, to go on to feeding them raw food as well. And just like we had the question from Beth earlier, some cats you need to start, or dogs, you might want to start off by transitioning on to cooked food. And then once you're happy with that, transition on to raw. So, take your time, do it at a pace that you're both comfortable with. And personally, because I've got 5 cats and 3 quite large dogs, I do a combination of things. So I buy some in frozen form, I buy some in fresh form, and I'm mixing and matching because I'm sort of been doing it for quite a long while now. So I'm fairly clued up about how to do it in the best way that suits me. But I'm someone that does not have a chance to go shopping every day because I live too far away from the shops and I just don't have time for that in my day. So I have to be quite organized in terms of what I've got in the freezer, what I haven't got in the freezer, what I'm preparing in advance and what I can do. So it just comes with practice and you get into a routine that suits you.
Linda has a good question here. Linda Hartman.
This one?
Yeah, no, the other one. Hi, Katrin and Timo. I'm looking into getting a dehydrator oven for when I slowly introduce organic meat. Is this better for them? Yes, absolutely. Super good. And you can use the dehydrator, also dehydrate some parsley and different things. But be careful. Try to get a dehydrator that can function under 40 degrees Celsius. Most of them are like set for 50 degrees. It will take longer, but believe me, it's far, far, far more nutritious and healthier overall. And yeah, very good idea. So then you have the second one. From Linda, we had the second one. Yeah, I have older cats as I'm transitioning them in. It's good. It's good for them, but they have been on drive for a long time. What give them the best life? Can't think. Okay, yeah. So dehydrated food, dehydrated by you, and when you choose your ingredients, is a total different ballgame. You cannot compare it to the food that you can buy from somewhere. It's not comparable. So if you can really, it depends though. there are some important points to talk about. But generally speaking, you are just making everything better. You are not interfering with anything or making anything worse. So it will be totally fine. Just try to do the transition time as comfortable as possible, so that there is no trauma about it, there's no fussiness about it. Slowly add, and they will like it. And for instance, if you can have self-dried beef, just put very small pieces here and there, just feed them with it and get them used to that texture, because it's a different, and you can choose how much water you still want to have in that food. So some cats are more fussy. Catherine talks about it all the time. Maybe you have to add some warm water to it to make it a bit, the texture a bit more comfortable, or you dry the food to a point that is still, the texture is still acceptable for your older cats, especially if they cannot chew well. So very good thing. Very good.
Yeah, so all of these things, and what I love about this and the brilliant questions we're always getting from the audience is the fact that a lot of what we're discussing for your pets equally applies to you. So, you know, I know we've got a lot of vegans in the audience, so they're not going to be dehydrating meat for themselves, but it's a good way to preserve your own food as well and things. So that ties into Indigo's question. Yes, absolutely. And we've got a lot of questions about, you know, feeding my cats. Yes, absolutely. If your young cat is always hungry, well, one, check for worms. So send a poo sample off for analysis to make sure that there's not a parasite problem there. I don't agree with worming regularly without knowing that there's a problem. Would you agree with that, Timo?
That is correct. Another reason might be the gut bacteria might be really, really unstable. Then there will always be hunger, because some of the bacteria will ask for more that doesn't fit into the gut's normal natural system. So, and that's very typical. For instance, if you feed also the children with a lot of carbohydrates all the time with sugars, they will always feel hungry, because they cannot get what the stuff they need to be complete in balance. So even if there are only 2-3 minerals that are missing, your cat might want them, but only to get them is more food. Does it make sense? So it's like, because they cannot pick and choose just 1 or 2 nutrients out of it, right? So you have to give the whole food to have it, and that's the reason.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to come on some of the other questions, because we don't want to go off target on not cover some of these important things. But basically, all the other questions you're asking about, can my beef mince cat eat in food, except can my cats eat fish, is all covered in the courses. So please do look at those courses, because we can't cover all of those in the live when we've already put a very comprehensive course together on that. So please do get that. So, okay, back to the things. Some common pet food additives and their disadvantages, Timo, because there's a lot that are added that aren't necessarily good.
Yes. So let's start with the biggest troublemaker, which is calcium phosphate, right?
Yeah.
So there is a healthy calcium to phosphorus level that your dog and cat has to have to function properly, and that is 2 calcium to 1 phosphorus. The reason for that is phosphorus is like nuclear waste. After it's used, it has to be getting rid of. And to make this possible, it's always bound to same amount of calcium. So that means if your food contains 1 unit of calcium and 1 unit of phosphorus, you have no calcium left for the other functions that you need. And if the calcium amount of calcium in the food is fulfilled with calcium phosphate, the calcium and the phosphorus together in calcium phosphate is bound together, and they will get out together. So you don't have that calcium. It's inside, yes. It's written on the back, yes, but no use of it for the animal. This is one of the typical things. Second thing is selenium, especially in inorganic form. It's really dangerous. It's really strong, and it can cause real big trouble, including cancer. It's well documented. No, this is not any type of how do you say it, rumor or something. So it's really dangerous stuff. So, and then there are the chelated ones, like we talked about, citrates and sulfates and whatnot. They are all lab made, and of course they have higher amount of bioavailability or absorption rate, but they are still not in the form that your cat or dog would like to eat. So, and if these minerals coming in and not absorbed, then your cat and dog will try to eat other animals' poop, will lick soil, stones, try to eat sand. I saw many nasty things trying to eat dead bird feather because it's rich in some of the minerals and whatnot. So if the food is not rich enough, they will find their way to get that. And just because the bag says there is enough of something doesn't mean it's absorbed. By the way, it's same goes for calories, but we will talk about it again.
Yeah.
Right.
Coco was just about to knock my computer off. She does that every time. I love her cuddles, but she's been known to shut down the whole live with one foul swoop at the bottom. So really great questions, everyone. Really good questions. Now, one of the things we get asked a lot is, what does the ash mean on an analysis?
All right. So ash is actually when you burn everything down, the organic matter burns away, and all including amino acids, sugars, whatever, everything is just burnt to dust. And that dust that's left is ash. And ash is in pure form minerals. That means all their organic compounds are burned away and only ash left. So if you add a lot of sand into your bag, you also have more. If they cremate you, you will have more ash because you have some hard minerals with you. Doesn't make it more healthy. So the food has to have some sort of amount of ash, and this is a good indication. But if the ash mostly comes from inorganic or chelated minerals that are added extra as additives, it's not much of a use. That means you have only 10% of it actually that is absorbed. The rest is just getting out.
Yeah. Okay, great. So Taurine, now as someone, a holistic health practitioner that works with a lot of people whose animals have got issues, one of the things over the last 5 years that has been really upsetting for both you and I, Timo, is to see how much issues we've got by lack of taurine in pets' diet, this whole misnomer about grain-free, etc., and the health issues that taurine can cause. So can we just spend a few minutes, please, talking about taurine, where we want to get it from naturally, and the health issues that it can cause if you're not getting it right?
All right. So for dogs and cats, there are different levels of need for taurine. So cats cannot produce taurine, synthesize it, or convert something to taurine. That means taurine is as an essential nutrient for them that they have to get in that form from their food. The cat system is totally organized in a way that the taurine comes from the food they're eating, mostly liver, heart, or other parts, mostly from small birds and rodents, because the smaller the animal species, the higher amount of taurine they have in their body compared to their body weight, right? So for a cat, if the cat hunts somewhere, it gets its enough taurine. There is no discussion about it, because the cat will always feel the need to hunt certain type of animals according to their needs. They are more self-aware in what they need. So for dogs, it's a bit different story. Dogs, of course, use taurine as taurine, but they can also convert 2 other amino acids to taurine, although not as efficient as humans can do. So if the food is totally lacks taurine, but has some of the extra amino acids, the dog will continue to live normally, but not healthily. And in the later age, it starts to show problems with the heart. Why? Because taurine's main job in the body is save the heart muscle from deterioration. So every muscle in our body can be strained, destroyed, and rebuilt. But the heart muscle shouldn't be strained, that it can. You cannot have sore heart, because if it's there, you don't function, you die. So the taurine is there to save all these cells from dying. And when it's not there, then the heart starts to deteriorate, and that's what we see, right? But don't forget, taurine also has a major impact on fat metabolism. So especially animals that eat a lot of fat, like some dogs eat a lot of fat, if they have enough taurine in the food, then they don't get overweight because they can burn that fat. Their body is more willing to burn the fat than store the fat. But if the taurine is low, then the body is more willing to store the fat than burn the fat. And we get weight issues. You can have two dogs. One is eating 50 grams of fat, but let's say 2 grams of taurine, and 150 grams of fat and half a gram of taurine. Which one will get more heavy or overweight? The one with the less taurine. That's very simple, right? So
I was just going to say, a few people are asking in the chat, Timo, in terms of what is the best meat for dogs or cats to get the taurine from. So we're looking at this species of meat, but also the area of the body part.
All right. So taurine is mostly found in brain, which is not a good source of food for cat at all. Mostly in the heart, which is a very good source for cat and dog. And liver, which is a very good source for cat and dog. And don't forget, muscle meat, like the normal meat, what we call meat, is mostly not really rich in taurine, especially in bigger animal species like the beef, right? So taurine is called taurine because it's found in beef before, in beef's heart and brain before. That's why they give the name taurine. But generally speaking, a mouse has far more taurine per body weight than beef.
Yeah. So that brings me back just before we move on to Sharonese question here. Thank you, Timo. Kat said earlier, I'm not going to put the thing on because otherwise I'll use Sharon's question. But, you know, she just fed her cat beef mince and he loved it. And that's really great. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But just remember, they can't just, I know you're not saying they are, but they can't just eat beef mince, because one of the main things I get told by the client is, well, my cat or dog eats cooked chicken every day. But as we cover in these series of talks and in the course, you have to have the different body parts in to get the different nutrients, don't you, Timo?
That is correct. But I didn't address two more things. One is grain-free food. And two, why that paradigm changed and everything. So first of all, we produce more soy than ever now. So the world produces a lot of soy. And we can use that for feeding animals because it increases the number of protein on the label and reduces the amount of grains we are using. But soy is not better than grain. So there is no difference. Soy can be even worse. So by making the food grain-free, they don't reduce the amount of taurine because taurine is, except some sea plants, in no plant or very little, really trace amounts. And by making those grain-free and don't adding extra taurine, they make the food less and less and less suitable for healthy heart for both cats and dogs. So you can do this if you have to, because you cannot afford it. Let's say if you have to feed your cat with ready-made food and you cannot really have the strength to support them with anything high quality, at least buy organic liver, chicken hearts in small amounts. Feed them every day, bit by bit, to make sure that they have enough taurine. One more thing, this study was made with humans and mice, but feeding them powder taurine, like taurine powder in the food, does not increase the taurine in the blood much. So that means the taurine, when it comes alone as single amino acid, the absorption level is quite low. It doesn't increase in the plasma level. So keep that in mind. So if you want to increase the amount of taurine for dogs and cats and you cannot afford to prepare food yourself or it's too expensive for you, at least buy organic small amounts of liver, chicken liver and hearts, and this will take care of it. But it has to be daily because the taurine is used all the time.
Yeah. And for those ones like, you know, Beth earlier and those of us that have got older animals, particularly cats, because in general, cats are a lot fussier to transition than dogs. Be patient with yourself. So yes, we all want them to have it, but it's not going to happen overnight. You know, actually, a couple of my cats took forever to get them to accept eating liver. So just be patient yourself, knowing you're doing the best you can, and keep persevering with tiny amounts, and it will be worth it. I absolutely promise you, you'll get there in the end. And you might need a stiff gin and tonic to keep you going, but you will get there. So, you know, we know that it can be difficult with older animals, particularly if they've got existing health issues. They're going to be less inclined to change, but keep with it, because I promise you will get there. So we've got a question here from Sharon about what raw food can she start to use for her 16-year-old cat?
So, yeah, it depends on the cat's health. So is your cat hunting? Is your cat at home? Is your cat active? Is it overweight? Is your cat nurtured or not? All depends. But you can start with good quality chicken, heart, liver, and breast, and just cook them for just 3 minutes, or just throw it into the boiling water for 3 minutes in biggest chunks you can, and then cut them to the pieces. Just a bit of a warm, lukewarm water to make the texture and the heat better. And then it's the best start. But it's important, of course, how the teeth are, how the jaw is, how the appetite is, how much movement there is. But that's a very good start. And be careful for everyone who likes to feed their cats with fish. Fish is not cat food. So it is good from time to time. It's a supplement. It can add something. But if you think that fish is naturally cat food, most of the cats cannot swim, and most of the cats cannot catch fish. So forget about it if possible. Just add to it. You can use it as an extra protein source from time to time, once a week. It's not a problem. But don't think that giving tuna or this all the time is good for your cat. It is not. Cats have different needs.
And we cover all that in the courses, because I know we keep saying we cover it on the courses, because these aren't quick questions answers, you know, because we're not expecting you to believe what we say at face value without understanding the reasons why. So what you get in the courses, which we haven't got time to do in all these videos, is to actually explain the why, so you understand why. And once you understand the why, then the decisions become very easy. And lovely Andrea P, who is so helpful to us. Thank you, Andrea, so much for being in the chat all the time and helping us. Andrea has been going through the YouTube videos and setting up a vibrant animal team section on the YouTube, so you can go back and see the ones you've missed. And what I will try and do moving forward, I wasn't organized enough to do it moving forward, but now Timo and I will try and put a little summary of some of the areas that we've covered underneath. But of course, it's quite difficult to do that when we're answering so many questions. But it's worth, you know, when you're sitting there going back and listening, because a lot of these questions we have covered. And I wanted to cover this one, and Timo, I'm sure, will have a point. Starting with my intuition. Love that. Thank you for joining us again. It is very difficult in some areas to get organic kidney and liver, etc. So what I've been doing is I'm a vegan, so I've never been into my local butcher, but I've been in there 3 times in the last couple of weeks. They think I'm the mad lady and asking all these questions. So I've just got my first lot of chickens that they're going to prepare with me, taking the skin off and taking the meat, raw meat off the bones. And then I buy all the bits of the chicken, but they've already taken the meat off. So I'm picking those up on Friday. I'll take some pictures and let you know how it goes. So don't be afraid to go in and ask yours. Now, what I also do on my catherineedwards.life under the health products page, because I do understand that it's not always possible to get organic. Also, without being rude, but those of you in America, your organic standards are not great at all. So they're not as stringent as they are in the Europe and the UK. So sometimes even organic still means they've got quite a lot of nasties in there. So we have to be realistic that we can't always get this. So what I provide on the catherineedwards.life, and perhaps again we'll do a different, I've got a one coming up tomorrow night with Clayton from the Roots brand. Now, one of the products there called Clean Slate is an absolutely amazing product. I've been using it for quite a while now to actually take these toxins out, neutralize glyphosate, etc., from the body. So what I do, because I can't get everything organic either, I get what I can from both a welfare point of view and a health, but I can't get everything organic, is then I use and try these tried and tested products to then add to the food to take out the nasties that we can't avoid. Because also we're all surrounded with our air, our water, where we walk, etc., by a lot of these, aren't we, Timo? Which is next week, because we're going to be talking, this really links into the probiotics talk that we're going to be doing next week.
Yes, I have here many great questions. I would like to pick them one by one, but there is an interesting question and very easy to answer. Do dogs have different blood groups, says Anna. Answer is yes. Bat says, is whitefish a good alternative to other fish? Yes, but whitefish is sold mostly as flat fillet. That means no organs are inside. It's just a muscle. It's not bad, but it's more suitable for dog than it is for cat. But you can use it from time to time. It's not a problem. Try to go to smaller fish, which are mostly not carnivorous. That means they eat just plankton or some seaweed. They are less of a problem because they are less. They have less toxins in their body. Sorry. And their nutritional value is higher. So that's why the big fish are eating them. So go with the smallest fish, mostly anchovy, but not in a tin, right? And not salted. So, okay, another one, indigo. What about dehydrating liver, heart, and making your own powder? Will that work? Short, yes, it depends. Long, it might get oxidated. You have to smell it. You have to check how good it is. And powder is always a problem because to reach the powder form, you have to dehydrate for a very long time. So what I would do is I would go to 40%, 30%, maximum 20% level instead of going to 6 to 5% to make it powder, and then feed it in small pieces. It's still chewable. It's still acceptable, especially for cats. But the idea is good and is used. It's also, funny enough, dried liver powder is a typical pelletant for cat food that they edit as a powder to make the food more attractive for the cats. It's one of the tricks that's used. Sharon E said it's an indoor meal fixed in good health but losing weight. Yes, in that case, you have to add more heart, more liver, small amounts. They have higher energy per gram, and they are much denser in nutrients per gram. Just add slightly more to see when the weight loss stops. And second thing, if you want your cat to be healthy after a certain age, you have to move the cat. It has to move. If not, there is no growth factor happening, and no growth factor happening means decline and short lifespan. So that's why hunting cats are mostly, if they don't cause trouble with some other cat, live the longest.
Yeah. So, we understand completely. There's no judgment in the fact that some people have their cats indoors. But if your cats are indoors, you've got to work really hard as a human to give them any sort of decent quality of life, health-wise and environment. So I do a lot of work with clients who've got indoor cats about how they can have indoor herb gardens for them to self-select from safe herbs. You've got to be really creative with your toys because there's nothing like getting out in nature for our microbiome, for our physical, for our emotional health.
For sure.
It's really, really hard. It's not to say that there's some reasons why sometimes you don't have to do that, but it's very hard and it takes a lot of effort from an owner to give a cat a good quality of life kept inside. It's, we just have to be honest. It's like, keeping a horse in the stable most of the time. It's completely unnatural, and therefore you've got to do a lot more as a human to help with that. We had a question from someone about does the course have a customer services? Well, it's Timo and I, and Andrea helps us out on the lives and with lots of other stuff. So Timo and I are customer services. When you go through the course, absolutely, you can ask questions and we answer them. And you can also see the questions that other people have asked. So we encourage you to look through those as well. And I would encourage people, yes, of course, you can ask questions as you go through the course, but it is useful also to finish the course, because quite often we find the questions are answered in the later section. So Timo and I always get back to people. We can't always do it that day because we're very busy, but absolutely we answer the questions that people put in there. So thank you for that. Street cat, I'm looking at others. Yeah, so so please, so we've got the last thing on here is we wanted to have a quick talk about the importance of soil, didn't we, Timo?
Oh, yes. So this is actually an important part. It's also very connected to the microbiome, which we'll discuss next week. Soil is the main source of all minerals for all plants and all animals. So, for instance, a lot of cobalt and a lot of some other minerals for horses come directly from the contact with the soil. Not the inorganic soil, but the all organic things in the soil that makes out the soil, right? Because soil is not just sand with some minerals, it's all the rest of all the bacteria and plant matter and animal matter and the feces of other animals, and everything together makes the soil. And the soil is the source of all good things for all animals and humans. For instance, there is a study, I cannot find it now, it shows that people in even older age who work in 30 minutes only with the soil, with their feet in the mud, or have direct contact with the soil every day, live on average 10 years longer. So that is a good sign, right? So the soil gives you what you need, and we should actually be in contact with soil all the time. But we don't call it earth anymore, we call it dirt. So we try to get rid of it whenever we can, although it is the source of everything. So especially cats who are hunting, they're always in touch with soil. They are sniffing around, they try to hunt, they climb, they fall, they roll, they try. That's why they have more minerals available to them, because they can get it from totally different places. By the way, we didn't talk about it, but the nose, the mucous membrane, the skin, and the lungs are far stronger in absorbing minerals from outside than the intestinal tract, which has a barrier, the rest doesn't. So, for instance, if you dive into a let's say thermal lake with full of minerals coming from a volcano, you absorb all of them far better than you would absorb them if you would eat them directly. So soil is super important. And dogs who are actually walking and running in the woods, touching with their nose everything, have higher chance of having the right minerals in the right type and right amount than the rest of them.
And those of us who've got horses and things like I have, I'm always rummaging around in the dirt and the poo, and I'm very healthy because of it, although you wouldn't necessarily want to see my nails. Yeah. So really good questions, as everyone. We're coming to the end of the show, as always. Bob doesn't own a pair of shoes.
Lucky, you know Bob, why? Because his dog is eating one all the time. So it's he is always the right one or the left one.
Yeah, absolutely. And animals will dig up the coals. Now, for those of you that want to learn more about how to use herbs and essential oils with your horses, with your dogs, with your cats, if you go to my Catherine Edwards Academy site, you will see I've got a thing there, natural healthcare and an introduction to zoopharmacognosy for dogs. Now, zoopharmacognosy is animals self-medicating. And it's absolutely fantastic. So particularly for those of you who've got animals that are in a more of a city or restricted or indoor environment, this sort of information is absolutely wonderful. So please do have a look at that, because the more we learn how to use these natural substances, and if we can't take our animals out into nature as much as we like, then it's our responsibility to bring nature to them, which is exactly what the zoopharmacognosy does. So Kim's saying she loves walking barefoot in nature. It's just wonderful, isn't it? Absolutely brilliant. Yeah,
that is correct. And it's not just electrical. So you might think that it's earth. It means just the electrical interaction between your earth and earth, but your intestinal tract, your microbiome is all in contact with outside world all the time, and the soil gives you the right. Look at me now. So I have, this is partly cotton, partly synthetic. All the computer is synthetic. Everything I touch is clean and made synthetic. So my intestinal tract knows nothing about my environment because nothing is normal. Nothing is what my intestinal tract knows. My immune system doesn't recognize any of this, what I'm touching now. So the moment I'm in the woods, touching the earth, then suddenly it's like, oh yeah, that's what we know. And it has a total different effect on you because you start to live again. Because right now you're not living. Some part of your body doesn't know what's happening at all. It's like blind, totally blind. That's why most of the immune systems of modern men, I'm not sexist, so women also, but the modern mankind or womankind, whatever, is so blind to the fact that the civilization just doesn't fit your organism, the organism you are. Maybe you're mentally, yes, the civilization is good for you, but your organism suffers from it because it's just not normal. It's so.
And when people of my age grew up, we children, we played outside and we rummaged in the dirt, and you weren't obsessively washing your hands every 2 seconds. I can remember my mum talking about catching worms, and I was thinking of an earthworm, and I was thinking, well, I'm going to notice if I'm eating an earthworm. I didn't get it till I was about 21. So we've got to get out in nature, and our pets need to get out in nature, and we mean real nature. Get out in the woods, get out on the beach, away from urban life, away from civilization, away from pesticides.
If you can, of course, if you can.
If you can, and if you can't, bring the nature to you with lots of the tips that we've been talking about. So thank you so much to everyone for joining us and your lovely, lovely comments and questions. You always have such good questions. And next week, Timo, we are talking about the important subject of probiotics, aren't we?
That's correct, but it's totally connected to the soil. It's so good that we leave it here because it will just move from this topic to the next one, which is soil is the best probiotic you can have. It is the biotic. So it is so that's actually we can skip next week. So
just go and play in soil. Roll about in it. Send us your pictures if you were rolling about in the soil.
Or
naked.
mud.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. We'll start with yours, Timo. Thanks, everyone. Now, please, please, please do like, subscribe, and share. We are really, really passionate, I hope you can see, about helping people out with their animals. And the thing is, we have got a horse series starting soon as we can fit it in, because we both love horses as well, and some different challenges there. But it's so important because so many of the problems that we see happening all the time are so easy to sort with this basic information, aren't they, Timo? So
that's correct.
Please share with any of your animal loving friends, because I'm sure they'll get something out of it. Yeah. All right. Lots of love. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you very much, Andrea, as always. Bye.